Well, hiya, it's Marcus, and welcome to another Zooming with. We are still doing Adelaide Fringe, and excitingly, I have got an ex-Adelaide boy. Well, he's still an Adelaide boy, but this guy has made it big all around the world, not only Australia, but UK, America. He is, of course, Amos Gill. How are you?
I'm good. Don't forget about those shows I did in Finland. I'd hate for you to not include
Oh,
what a powerful Scandinavian comedian I am.
you're dynamic everywhere.
You
Let's.
look like, by the way, you look like a Viking slash Christina Aguilera. Like
Oh,
it's like all one.
the love child of. You know what? That's
Yeah.
the best compliment I've ever received, and I'm going to take it.
If Christina Aguilera was a vicious pirate.
I'm going to own that look. I'm going to take
Yeah.
it. Hey, over in Perth for the Fringe you are at the moment. How's that going?
Mate, it's good. You know, like Perth for me is a little monastic retreat. I come here, I swim, I see my mum and my step siblings go for swims, and I try out all the new material on the Perth audience. And if it's shit there, I fix it. So by the time it gets to Adelaide, I'm doing a good job. You
We
know,
get
they're my
top-notch stuff. Yeah.
that's it, man. And it takes me a while to readjust to Australia, to be honest, because I spent all my year in America, and the Australian audience is very different, much more sensitive.
You live in Los Angeles, yeah?
I do. I live in Venice Beach. Yeah.
I mean, wow, epic. Speaking of beaches, did you move over there for work?
Yeah. Yeah. I moved over there originally to go work on the Jim Jeffries show. And to be honest with you, it's just if you just by numbers, Australia is you do a few festivals and that's your year, 20 million people. America, 300 million English speakers. It's just there's just so much more you can tour, you know, all year. And people love it. People love comedy in America in a way that they don't in Australia. Like Australians will come to the Fringe and be like, oh yeah, we'll go look at who should we see? Hughesy. We'll go see Hughesy. And then they take a punt on one other person and you hope it's you. And that's kind of how festivals work. Whereas like in America, I mean, I did a gig in Springfield, Missouri. It's a town of 300,000 people. And they have a comedy club that sells 400 seats a night. And it doesn't matter who you are because they just love stand-up. Whereas like I think in Adelaide, people come to see me, but I don't feel like they're comedy fans so much as like I'm like the Ferris wheel. They're like every year I go on the Amos ride.
Yeah.
You know, we just go. It's one of those things you go and do. You go and watch me at the Adelaide Fringe, and you're like, that was all right.
Yeah.
We'll see him next year.
There's kind of a lineup of you comedians, isn't there? There's Jim Owen, the Arj Barker. There's those standard comedians that people just have to go and see because that's kind of mandatory, right?
Yeah, they're your core group. You know what I mean? Well, I see them as like they're like your Woolworths and Coles, and
Yeah.
I'm like Aldi. I'm a little cheaper, but in these cost of living times, I'll still give you a good product.
Yeah, exactly. Cheaper, but not essentially lower quality. It's still up.
No, not lower quality. I'm just
Good,
bulk.
yeah. Yeah, I'm still worth it.
That's it.
Hey, so coming back to Adelaide, do you always get excited? Because you're pretty much a staple at the Adelaide Fringe now. Do you
Yeah,
enjoy
man,
your time?
I love it. I really, I mean, to me, the Fringe. I took 1 year off actually when I moved, and I was like, maybe I'm not going to do the Fringe anymore. And it was hell. I remember sitting in LA, just looking at my Instagram and seeing my friends and other comedians and family members going out, and it's like, I've done Edinburgh Fringe. I've done all the other. Adelaide is the best Fringe in the world. Just even on the social element, just there is no greater feeling than like the sun going down on Rundle Street, and you see everybody dining, and you think like, what a paradise of a city. It feels like being in Europe, you know, for this moment where you go, everyone is out, they're living, they're alive, there's a pulse. And then obviously for some reason we decided that's enough of that. We won't do that again. But for that one brief time, not even as a comedian, just as a person, I couldn't think of a place I'd rather be than
Yeah.
around, you know, both Gluttony and the Garden and the Rundle Street. It's the best.
And Amos, I mean, I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure your family and friends have told you, but Adelaide has really not kicked off its summer yet. But finally, the last couple of days, we're getting some decent weather out there. So fingers crossed by the time you get
Hot again, is it?
Yes, it's getting there now. So you know what, you will in between your shows, and I know you got a tight run, but hopefully you do get a bit of time down the beach because it's going to be beach weather.
Oh yeah, man. That's how I start my day, man. I usually try to get down to Henley or Grange, have a swim, go to Joe's.
Yes.
That's my little ritual I have down there. And I live in West Hindmarsh, so I'm either there or I go to Queen Street Cafe. I always like to promote Queen Street because I want my area to be gentrified further so I can sell my fucking house. Because these interests are killing me, man.
Oh my God. Right. Correct. Hey, I mean, obviously, as a man a comedian who has performed everywhere, what do you think about Adelaide Fringe in regards to, why does Adelaide Fringe stick out for you? Why is it such a focal point for you to come back to, apart from the fact that, it's your hometown?
Yeah. I mean, I love performing in Gluttony. I like performing in the tents. I love the hustle bustle of the crowds. It's obviously a hometown for me. So it's actually a good place. Most of the time I catch up with people now is like, they'll come to my show and we'll go out for a beer afterwards. So I kind of tick off a lot of boxes. Like that's my catch up for the year with everybody. And, there's like, the audiences are good. They've had the Fringe a long time. So they're a pretty reasonable Fringe audience, Perth is still a little bit new to it. So when you're here, you do the joke and people are like, do we laugh? Do we clap? I don't know. How does this work? I've got sunstroke. I got no fucking idea. They're a bit off. And it's so hot here. Jesus.
I was talking to someone over there yesterday and they said it was like bad. Yeah.
Oh man, it's 39 degrees. And I tell you, when you live away from Australia and you come home, you get a sunburn here like nowhere else on planet. I'm like out for 15 minutes. You go, yeah. If you want to know if your ancestors stole land or not, here's a good clue. If you're burnt after 15 minutes in your home country, you're not meant to be there.
I get it.
That's a good guess.
So hey, let's talk about the show. It is, of course, on page 23. It's Amos Gill, and it's called Going Down Swinging. It runs from the 16th to the 16th of February, right through to the 17th of March at the Maywood in Gluttony, as we said, in the East End. What is the show about this year?
Well, I did the Edinburgh Festival last year, and I got a really good review from this tough critic called Jay Richardson. And he said, he gave me these quotes. He said, Amos Gill is a straight white man in an arts environment that doesn't compromise his beliefs. He's a white guy going down swinging, was the review. And it was a nice review. And I remember thinking, that is what I'm doing. I'm like, I am not changing for the political correctness of what I find funny. Like, I think a lot of Australian comedy is watered down, but because I'm overseas, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to come here, say my very dark, warped sense of humor and take it or leave it. And I think the more that you do that in this business, the better you go. Because I think people want pretty unfiltered stuff. So it's really just me saying everything I really want to, because I'm not trying to get a job on the project. So or the radio. So I don't give a fuck anymore. I want maximum laughs. I'm taking inspiration from my grandmother who got dementia and just started to spit some truth. And there's nothing quite like no filter.
And so you can do it before you get dementia. Yay.
Right before. This is this glorious period where I'm like, I know it's coming. I want to get into enough trouble that when I get dementia, I can forget all about how much I was run out of there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an easy transition then as well. It's no shock for anybody.
Yeah, well, I'm already shitting myself at this point. So I'm ready. Not going to be a shock. I shat myself on the couch the other day and it went onto the fabric and I had to throw it out. That's a story for today. It's not in the show, but yeah.
Well, you're giving me all the scoops.
I know. Yeah, that's. Wait, Matt Gilbertson isn't at Adelaide anymore, so now I can give you all the.
Yeah, thank you.
All the confidential.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Amos Gill throws out fabric couch after Dave's hot chicken does not agree with his stomach.
Women's Day is going to be calling you anytime. Hey, my friends. Obviously, comedians, you really do get it tough because comedians call it like it is, so they are funny and so they do sell tickets. Yeah. But unfortunately, as we see, so many get freaking cancelled, raked over the fire, over the coals, all of that. Who's someone that you really admire that has stuck to their guns and delivered comedy like it should be delivered?
Look, man, my favorites are, I've always had an admiration for the American style stand-up comedy more than the Australian. So I like, I loved when I was young, a guy called Greg Giraldo, who's dead now. I loved Patrice O'Neill. These are some people that you've got to look up if you don't know them. I loved Colin Quinn, Bill Burr, Louis C.K. And then obviously Jim Jeffries was the Australian comedian that when I was growing up here, he had no recognition in Australia, but I could see that he was doing HBO in America. he was selling out theaters in England. And I was like, I don't understand why he's not a household name. He's our biggest, but because he wasn't doing, you know, Channel 10 Australia, people didn't think it was legitimate, which is crazy because it's like he was pretty raw and rough. And I didn't think that, you know, the Australian media liked that. But now with the internet out there, I think that, you know, the inspiration to be had there is you can kind of be cancelled, but not really. Like, it's a two-way street where I'll be like, oh, people are too soft. But okay, if you want to say offensive things, people are going to hate you. The challenge is to just get over it and deal with it. Like, I don't like it when comedians are like, oh, I got in trouble for saying a joke. It's like, yeah, of course. Like, some people aren't going to like you. Now you're being a whinger. You know, it's no point whinging about political correctness. And then people go, oh, we think you're bigoted and rude. And you go, oh, you've hurt my feelings saying that. It's like, fuck it. Harden up, mate. Like, not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. That's the best you can realize.
I remember a good few years ago, it was Joan Collins, not Joan Collins, Joan, yeah. She was in trouble all the time. She was pretty much the person that people directed a lot of their hate towards for, you know, being so outspoken. She was pretty much solo at the time, I think. These days, every comedian left, right, and center are getting pulled down for something, aren't they?
Well, it's also, the thing is, you got to be careful, because I've seen a lot of comedians who are like, they're trying to silence me. It's like a gimmicky marketing ploy now to be like, I'm too dangerous. Yeah. They're trying to cancel me. And it's like, mate, you got 2 people tweet about you. I think you're a little more important in your head. Like, no one's going to cancel you. You're not Dave Chappelle. Relax. You're performing in a tent in a park. Like, you know, Kevin Hart lost hosting the Oscars because of a joke. You know, you didn't get booked at the OBH pub in Perth because you did some routines. Let's just relax about how important you are. Like, you know, it's funny in the end, you will win. It's a simple business. It's binary. Are you funny? Yes, no. If not, be funnier.
What would be your ultimate goal in comedic work? Where would you like to head?
Man, I just want to be able to. I was actually talking to friends about this the other day. Like, the best part about comedy for me is the coming up with material. It doesn't get any, but like the money, that whatever you make, I just want to keep doing this for as long as I humanly can. And to tour America. I like touring America, Europe, the UK, Australia. It's like you move around like a gypsy. And that's the lifestyle that I love, man. If I can keep doing that, I don't care as much anymore about how big you get. Because to me, not working as a lawyer, which is what I was going to do if I wasn't a comedian, is the win. You know, every time I'm like, oh, I wish I was a bit more famous. I'm like, I'm not currently wearing a tie at the Adelaide Magistrates Court dealing with someone who's got a DUI, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm happy that anytime I'm like out of the suit jacket, I'm a winner.
How did your parents go when you first told them that, you know what, this is going to be my career?
Well, I'm a wog, right? So my mum was, you know, they're all worried because I was the first person in my family to go to university. So they're obviously like, what you're going to do dick jokes now and humiliate us. But my Croatian grandfather says it the best, because comedy is not a big thing, you know, to the shepherds of the Croatian mountains. And this is how he describes stand-up. My mum goes, do you know what your grandson does? And he goes, yeah, he is a mentally sick, and he tell everyone how much is sickness in a head, and the people more sick than him pay. I'm like, well, that is a pretty accurate description of stand-up comedy. Yeah. You know, I synthesize my mental illness into some vignettes that I can say within 1 hour, and people can go, oh, at least I'm not that guy. Sounds like a nightmare living in his head.
Look at you now, it's paying the bills.
It pays the bills. But I think my mum's a lunatic, man. She's like, my mum has got so many different dreams and aspirations. So I think she'd be disappointed if I wasn't pursuing something on a grand scale. You know, like my mum is an injectables nurse, right? But she's also like started a fertilizer business that went bankrupt. She fucking does breast job implants. There's an abandoned power station here in Perth. And I said, what are you doing, Mum? She goes, I'm going down to have a meeting with the people who own it because I want to put a music festival on the beach. I'm like, what do you know about music festivals? She's like, how hard can it be? Music, beach, it's going to win. And so it's like, she's a little bit of a lunatic. So there's no way that she could tell me, don't follow your dreams, because I mean, this is a woman who had another pair of kids at 53 years old. So you're talking about making wild decisions. She's right up there with that.
That the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
No, unfortunately, you know, I used to like make fun of my mum. I'm like, fuck, I'm becoming like her because you even said to me there, what do you want to do? And my head doesn't even go, oh, I'll become a famous comedian. I'm like, I don't know. I'd like to have like a sailboat business in Croatia and maybe make my own wine and just never come back anywhere again. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know the first thing about wine. Don't know the first thing about sailboats, but I'm such a delusional fantasist that I'm like, now that's a life. You know, that's a good life. I've got about 30 different lifestyles in my head that I wish I could live. But it turns out comedy is the only one I can actually do.
Maybe
so, until then,
personalities that go along with that as well. Who can say, right?
Yeah, I think maybe I am just a schizophrenic. I have all these different people behind me.
Hey,
you know? But yeah, enjoy that, dude. That's the thing about the world that we live in right now is there are so many options, and sometimes I think it actually is hard because I'm constantly like afraid of like, what if I lived here? What if I lived there? Oh, I want to live in Adelaide. No, I want to live in Europe. No, I want to be in America. Back in the old days, you just stayed in your town and you just did what you've always done, and then maybe there is a piece to that.
Yeah,
because you look like a guy that would live in his van and go on like Margaret River.
I know like, that you would think that, but I don't do camping. No, I don't. No, I like. I know this is my jungle room right here. You know, but hey, obviously apart from the beaches, which I'm going to clearly be seeing you at a lot, I reckon when you hit Adelaide. What are some of the other places that you enjoy hanging out? You know, cafes, bars, restaurants.
Look, it's not a cool thing to say, but you know, in the spirit of honesty, I love cycling. So if I'm in a bad mood, often I just go to the bottom of the Adelaide Hill. I would like to ride up to Aldgate and Crafers. I love going up to Crafers. I'm a big Adelaide Hills person. I think it's one of the most spectacular parts of the world, really. So I like to spend as much time in the hills as I can. And then my friend Nick Favaro, he owns Bar Torino, and so that's like that's my go out place. You know, we went to school together, and he's really great at what he does. You know, all their families, businesses, they know what they're doing.
And they've opened up a new place now at Carrick Hill.
Yeah, I saw that. And I tell you what I respected about Nick as well is a lot of people start a business and their friends come in and you know, they expect freebies, but when I first walked into Nick's Bar Torino, it was the first time I've ever walked into a friend's business. And I was like, you've done such a good job here and clearly spent a lot. I was like, I'll pay. You know what I mean? Like, and I always liked that he'd be like, no one's getting fucking freebies here. And I'm like, I respect that. Because it's like, even when I do comedy, everyone's like, I'll come to the show with friends. Can I get 30 free tickets? You're like, you fuck off.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know, it's like my friend Tyler. I'm like, are you going to tile my house for free? I don't think so.
Yeah, no way. Well, I'll be seeing you up at Bar Torino is just up the road there from me. It's definitely my local, usually Thursday nights and Friday nights. I love Nick family, incredible.
Yeah, they're grand.
Now tell me, Adelaide Fringe, obviously not that far away, 2 weeks away. You're going to be heading over here soon. We are talking about Gluttony. It's at the Mayworth from the 16th of February to the 17th of March. It's a long duration. I cannot wait for the show. Tell everybody watching why they should get up off their couches, get some tickets and come along and see the show.
Look, I would say that it's hard in Australia, isn't it, to big yourself up? That's not part of our culture. We kind of go, oh yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of good people out there, but I'm also now half an American. So I will say, come to my show because I solemnly swear that it is far more different than any other stand-up that you'll see. You're watching a person who is not trying to have a mainstream career. I'm playing purely to do the most gut-bustingly funny and honest things I can possibly say. And I don't give a fuck what the outcome is. I'm going to say my piece and hopefully you find it funny.
I love it.
I also give you a hand job at the end.
Woo! I'll be there every single night.
Amos, as well.
Amos Gill, you are a freaking legend. It's going to be so good to welcome you back for your homecoming show.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I am. I'll see you at Torino for a couple of...
I will be there.
Yeah, we'll have a couple of... What's the wine I love from Adelaide at the moment? Oh, yeah, the Ministry of Clouds.
Oh,
shout out to the Ministry of Clouds.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest of Perth, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks,
I'll
Markus.
do it. You're a legend. Thanks a lot,
See you,
Amos.
man.
Thank you.
Catch you later. Bye.